In the heart of West Africa, a new political and military icon has emerged, one who has captured the imagination of a restless youth, defied Western influence, and shaken up the balance of power in the Sahel region from Senegal on the Atlantic coast to Eritrea on the Red Sea coast. Captain Ibrahim Traore, the Russia-backed junta leader, is now the face of a new era in Burkina Faso. But how did a young military officer rise to become a symbol of resistance, and what does his leadership mean for the future of Africa? Stay with us as we tell you the story of Traore's meteoric rise, his alliances, and the impact of his rule on Burkina Faso and beyond. Born in 1988 in Bandoki, a small town of western Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore grew up during a time of political upheaval. He joined the military in 2009, quickly gaining a reputation for discipline and tactical skill. Traore's rise was marked by his deployment in the volatile northern region of Burkina Faso, where he led counter-terrorism operations against jihadist groups.
What do you think? What are the factors which are giving him a lot of legitimacy in Burkina Faso?
He, as you rightly pointed out, risen to power in a shot. Why is not only the people, the youth in his own country, Burkina Faso, regarding him as a Masiha, but it's also the larger youth and public all across African countries which are looking at him as a savior. See, the first thing that you need to know is that he is a very young military captain, and he came to power in 2022. But before that, he was part of the UN peacekeeping force in Mali, and he was also sent by his government to deal with terrorism in the north of the country. So he was exposed to all the problems that the country was facing and that the region was facing in terms of the rise of Islamist militancy. So for him, that was the main problem that the country was facing at the moment. When the coup happened in Burkina Faso, it was led by one of his own colleagues, and this was in January 2022. And the coup leaders, the military junta, had come to power with the statement that they will deal with this terrorists. They will bring the country out of the clutches of the terrorists. There's no doubt that they did launch an offensive against the terrorists. More than 20 airstrikes against the terrorists, but still the insurgency was not the terror militancy was not out, and by September, around 50% of the country was in the hands of all these jihadists, whether it was the ISIS Sahel or the other Al-Qaeda, affiliates in the country. So that led to Ibrahim Traore basically arguing for a change.
In January 2022, Burkina Faso soldiers launched a coup, seizing control of key military bases and the national television station in the capital, Ouagadougou. President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore was detained, and the military was led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Santiago Damiba. The coup was driven by mounting frustration over the government's inability to address the escalating jihadist insurgency and deteriorating security situation, which had eroded public trust and support for Kabore's administration. But Damiba was also unable to curb jihadist violence, and in September 2022, it culminated in another military coup. Traore, then a captain, led the charge to oust the ruling junta, becoming one of the world's youngest heads of state at the age of just 34. Almost immediately, Ibrahim Traore distanced Burkina Faso from its former colonial ruler, France, expelling French troops and diplomats.
Ce siècle-là, si on arrive à apprendre qu'un jour, le président Traoré est mort ou pas, ou mort dans une suicide ou bien dans un accident, il faudra savoir que les Français là, il y aura affaire aux Burkinabés. Et non seulement, ce n'est pas les Burkinabés seulement, c'est toute l'Afrique. Vive la révolution, abat la France!
In the place of French troops, Traore welcomed Russian military advisors and the Wagner Group.
Сегодня нас объединяет общая цель борьбы с терроризмом и экстремизмом. Будем и далее помогать республике в восстановлении законности и конституционного порядка, оказывать содействие в подавлении радикальных группировок, остающихся в отдельных районах Буркина-Фасо.
La preuve, je pense qu'avec toutes les sanctions contre la Russie depuis un certain temps, la Russie arrive à développer un mécanisme interne qui lui place donc au devant de la scène internationale. Et nous prenons bonne note de ces leçons que nous avons donc apprises ici. Et au même...
The fact that he is fighting to deal with the militancy, the fact that he is young and he's calling the youth in the country to kick out the French and the other Western governments, not just in his own country, but in the other neighboring countries. He's leading a movement which is against the involvement of the Western countries in Africa, led by France. You know, France is the main, because it was the French which ruled Burkina Faso for a very long time, and even after independence of Burkina Faso, they were the ones which were controlling the economy. They were the ones who were controlling the security situation, because the country was totally dependent on the French.
Traore's rhetoric, anti-imperialist, nationalist and unapologetically Pan-African, has resonated deeply with Burkina Faso's youth.
Ils ne partiront pas de certains pays. Ils ont juste dissous le dispositif. Vous ne les verrez plus dans des bases, mais dans les ambassades, ils seront là. Ils vont constituer des sociétés de sécurité pour sécuriser leurs sociétés qui existent dans ces pays-là. Mais les soldats seront là. Mais vous ne les verrez plus en tenue ou rassemblés dans des bases.
C'est un fils combattant. C'est un fils combattant. Il est capable de diriger le Burkina Faso. S'il plaît à Dieu, il va le diriger. Nous sommes derrière lui. 100%, même derrière, nous sommes derrière lui. J'ai quitté jusqu'à Conakry. Je suis burkinabé pour venir lui supporter. On est derrière lui.
Social media is flooded with images of Traore, often depicted alongside revolutionary icons like Thomas Sankara. His message is that Africa must chart its own course, free from Western interference.
He's often compared to Thomas Sankara, who was the president of Burkina Faso in 1983 until his assassination in 87. What are the parallels that you draw? One of them is definitely both started at a very young age.
Yeah, both started at a very young age, but I think he was also, very much anti-establishment. He was also very much a Pan-African leader, perceived as a Pan-African leader, not just in Burkina Faso, but across the country. So that these are some of the similarities which you find with Traore and Thomas Sankara. And also that in terms of the support that Traore is getting from the youth in his country and across is also similar to that of Thomas Sankara. He caught the imagination of the youth.
In April 2025, Burkina Faso was rocked by an attempted coup. The military government of the West African nation, led by Traore, claimed that the masterminds were located in neighboring Ivory Coast. Loyalist forces quickly suppressed the rebellion. With this, Traore emerged even stronger. Ibrahim Traore's defiance of Western powers and embrace of Russia have inspired similar movements across West Africa. But security issues are daunting. An Al-Qaeda affiliate, JNIM, reportedly killed up to 200 people, including both soldiers and civilians, in a devastating assault on the northern Burkina Faso town of Djibo in May 2025. Traore has launched a crackdown on terror financing, but the region remains volatile. Besides that, according to expert Rachita Berry, even Wagner has not been successful in dealing with terrorism.
Russians send the Wagner group, the paramilitary from their country or the so-called paramilitary or private security company to Burkina Faso or to Mali to deal with the situation. But unfortunately, these people have also not been, the Wagner has not been also very successful in dealing with the insurgency. As you've seen that, the terrorists continue to gain ground in these countries. I can give you an example from Mali where the leaders of this terror group, the ISIS, I think it was basically the ISIS, which captured the airport, and they posed in front of the presidential jet saying that, okay, here we are, captured the airport. So there is a struggle which even the Russians are facing, but the larger mood of the people in Sahel region is pro-Russia, and Captain Ibrahim is leading that charge by wooing the Russian president. He was there at the Russia-Africa summit a couple of years back. He has been inviting the Russians to come in and invest in the country, to be part of the security, and also he was also there recently at the commemoration in Russia for the World War II victory against Hitler's Germany. So he is being wooed by the Russians, and he's seen as the one who's pivoting the entire Sahelian region in favor of Russia.
While Ibrahim Traore's regional influence have captured the imagination of many, the country continues to grapple with severe economic hardships, widespread insecurity, and a humanitarian crisis that disrupts daily life for millions. Traore is charting a new course for Burkina Faso and inspires similar shifts across the Sahel. But the path ahead is quite uncertain. History has shown that leaders who rise as benevolent visionaries, like Libya's Muammar Gaddafi, who seized power promising justice and prosperity, often begin with sweeping reforms and popular support, only to consolidate power and drift into authoritarianism. Over time, Gaddafi's regime became increasingly repressive, bringing more misery before its violent collapse. So the question is, will Traore break this cycle, or will history repeat itself once again?